Have you ever wondered why we spend nearly 2 decades in school, memorizing dates and formulas, yet we graduate completely illiterate about the one thing that dictates our entire survival?
You mean money?
Exactly. It feels like a glaring omission, doesn't it? We are taught how to get a job, but never how to actually handle the wealth, or lack thereof, that the job generates.
It's not just an omission. It's a systemic cycle. Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the material we are discussing today, puts it quite brutally. He says, poverty is almost like genetics. It's not biological, but it passes from generation to generation simply because parents teach their kids what they know. And if your parents are middle class, they teach you how to be middle class.
Which usually means go to school, get good grades, and find a safe job.
Precisely. And that advice, while well-intentioned, is exactly what keeps people poor. Today we are diving into the story of 2 fathers. One was highly educated, made a good living, but struggled financially his whole life. The poor dad. The other never finished 8th grade, but became one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. The rich dad.
It sounds like a fable, but this is based on Kiyosaki's real childhood, right? I'm curious about the rich dad. If he didn't have a formal education, what did he know that the PhD father didn't?
He knew that the rich don't work for money. That's the first and perhaps most difficult lesson to grasp.
That sounds counterintuitive. If you don't work for money, how do you eat?
Let's go back to when Robert was 9 years old. He and his friend Mike wanted to learn how to be rich. So Mike's dad, the rich dad, made them an offer. He said, "I'll teach you, but not in a classroom. You have to work for me."
Let me guess. Hard labor.
Dusting cans in a supermarket for 3 hours every Saturday. The pay? 10 cents an hour. Even back in the 1950s, that was peanuts. It was insulting.
So he was exploiting them?
That's exactly what Robert thought. After a few weeks, he was furious. He felt like a slave. He was missing his softball games, working for pennies, and Rich Dad hadn't taught him a single thing yet. So he marched in to quit. And that is exactly what Rich Dad was waiting for.
He wanted him to quit.
He wanted him to get angry. When Robert demanded a raise, Rich Dad asked him, "Do you want to be like everyone else?" He explained that most people accept the low pay, or they quit and look for another job with slightly higher pay, thinking that more money will solve their problems. But it never does.
Because of the rat race.
Exactly. This is the psychological trap. Rich Dad explained that most people are ruled by 2 emotions, fear and greed. Fear of not having money makes us work hard. We get the paycheck, the fear subsides, and then greed kicks in. We think about all the things we can buy, a new car, a better house. So we spend it. Then the fear comes back, so we work harder.
And the cycle repeats. You earn more, you spend more.
Right. Rich Dad said that even if he paid Robert $1 an hour, or 2 or 5, which was a fortune for a kid, Robert would eventually just buy a new bicycle or baseball glove, and he'd be back in the same spot. He was teaching them that a job is just a short-term solution to a long-term problem.
That's a heavy lesson for a 9-year-old. So what was the solution? How do you break that emotional cycle?
You have to stop letting money control your emotions. Rich Dad actually cut their pay to 0.
0? He made them work for free.
Yes. He told them, use your head. If you aren't looking for a paycheck, your brain is forced to look for opportunities that others miss because they are too busy looking for money. And it worked. The boys noticed that the store owner was throwing away comic books. They asked if they could have them. They opened a library, charged kids admission to read as many comics as they wanted, and suddenly they were making way more money than they ever did dusting shelves.
They created a business. They made the money work for them.
Exactly. They didn't have to be there physically for the money to come in. That is the fundamental difference. But to get there as adults, we have to unlearn a lot of what we've been taught.
You mentioned earlier that we need to be financially literate. Is that just a fancy way of saying we need to understand accounting? Because that sounds incredibly boring.
It is boring, but it's critical. And Rich Dad simplified it beautifully. He said the only rule you really need to know is the difference between an asset and a liability.
I think most people assume they know that. A house is an asset. A car is an asset.
And that is where 99% of people get it wrong. Rich Dad's definition is brutally simple. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket.
Okay, but hold on. If I own a house, that's a huge value. How is that not an asset?
Does your house put money in your pocket every month? No. You pay a mortgage, you pay taxes, you pay insurance, you pay for repairs. It takes money out. Therefore, it is a liability.
That is a hard pill to swallow for the middle class. The home is usually the pride and joy investment.
It is, and that's why the middle class struggles. They buy liabilities that they think are assets. The rich, on the other hand, spend their time building a column of real assets: stocks, bonds, income-generating real estate, royalties. They don't buy the luxury house or the sports car until their assets generate enough cash flow to pay for them.
So it's about the order of operations. You build the engine first, then you buy the toys.
Precisely, and this ties into another concept he mentions: mind your own business.
Which doesn't mean stop being nosy.
No, it means knowing the difference between your profession and your business. You can be a banker by profession, but if you don't own the bank, that's not your business. Your business is what you own, your asset column. You should keep your day job, sure, but every dollar you save should go into your business, into acquiring assets, not into buying a bigger TV.
It seems like the system is rigged against the employee, though. You work, you get taxed, you spend what's left.
It is rigged. That's actually lesson 4. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. The rich don't play by the same rules. They use corporations to protect their wealth. The corporation isn't a building. It's a legal folder. It allows you to earn money, spend everything you can as expenses, and then get taxed on what is left. Employees earn, get taxed, and then try to live on what is left.
It sounds unfair, honestly.
It is, but as Rich Dad said, you can sit around complaining that it's unfair, or you can learn the rules and play the game. This brings us to the concept of financial IQ. The world is constantly handing us opportunities, but if your mind is driven by the fear of losing money, or if you're cynical, you won't see them.
He talks about inventing money, right? The idea that money isn't real.
Yes. He gave an example of buying a house for a fraction of its value during a market crash. He didn't even have the down payment. He borrowed it, flipped the house, and made $40,000 in 5 hours. He didn't work for that money. He used his financial intelligence to spot a gap in the market.
But that requires risk. And I think that's what stops most people. We are terrified of losing.
Fear is the great divider. Rich Dad said he never met a rich person who hadn't lost money. But he met plenty of poor people who hadn't lost a dime because they never invested. It's about how you handle that fear. Do you play not to lose, or do you play to win?
There's also the issue of arrogance, or maybe cynicism. You know, the "I can't do that" attitude.
Or the "I can't afford it" attitude. That phrase is banned in the Rich Dad philosophy. Saying, "I can't afford it" shuts down your brain. It lets you off the hook. Asking, "How can I afford it?" forces your brain to work. It triggers that little bit of greed or desire that drives progress.
It's interesting you mention greed as a good thing. We're usually taught it's the root of all evil.
A little greed is just ambition. It's the cure for laziness. And laziness isn't just sitting on the couch. You can be busy and still be lazy. If you stay late at work to avoid dealing with your finances or your family, that's a form of laziness. You're avoiding the hard problem.
So, we have fear, cynicism, laziness. What about skills? Robert talks about working to learn.
This is the advice he gave a talented writer who was struggling. She wrote beautifully but couldn't sell her books. Robert suggested she take a sales course. She was offended. She saw herself as an artist, not a salesperson.
I can see that. Sales feels dirty to some intellectuals.
But look at the result. She's a best-writing author, not a best-selling author. Robert admits he's not a great writer, but he's a great salesman. The lesson is to acquire skills outside your comfort zone. Learn management, learn sales, learn marketing. Don't just specialize in one narrow field, or you'll be trapped. You'll be one skill away from great wealth, but never reach it.
It really does come down to a complete shift in mindset. It's not just about money. It's about self-discipline and emotional control.
Absolutely. It's about realizing that life is going to push you around. You can either let it push you into a safe corner where you work for 45 years hoping for a pension, or you can push back by educating yourself.
The story of the two dads is really a story about two different philosophies of life. One sees money as a scarce resource to be hoarded and feared. The other sees it as a tool to be mastered and multiplied.
And the scary part is, we choose which dad we want to listen to every single day. When you get your paycheck, do you immediately buy a liability or do you invest in an asset? That split-second decision determines your future more than your salary ever will.
It leaves us with a big question to ask ourselves. If we stopped working today, right now, how long could we survive?
That is the true definition of wealth. It's not a dollar amount, it's time. If you can survive forever without working because your assets cover your expenses, you are wealthy. If you can only survive 3 weeks, that's your wealth score.
And most of us are probably terrified to calculate that number.
Which is exactly why we need to start. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
A sobering thought, but an empowering one. We don't have to be victims of the system if we're willing to learn the language of money.
Correct. The classroom is open, but this time you have to teach yourself.
We'll leave it there for today. Thanks for walking us through this.
My pleasure. Keep learning.